Hello, everybody. I am super excited here to share with you a little bit about our dogs. We have some amazing furry friends that we call our best friends. And not only are they our best friends, but we like to take care of our best friends the best that we can. So I have a special guest today. Her name is Sandra, and she is going to talk to you guys a little bit about what she does with her dogs and how she can offer some information for you guys, how you can take care of your dogs the best possible way ever. So Sandra, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Sherry. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So Sandra, we're going to talk today about raw dog food. So can you tell us, Sandra, Sandra has a company called HuLu, and HuLu is, for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why it was called HuLu, but then I realized she had two dogs. One was called Hugo, the other was called Lucy, so that's where HuLu raw dog food came from.
You got
So, so can you tell us, Sandra, the benefits of feeding your dog raw dog food over like giving it dry dog food or kibble?
Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. Hulu comes from Hugo and Lucy. And just quickly, a little bit of a background as to why raw dog food for us was because of our Lucy girl when we rescued her. So we had found out that there was such great benefits from feeding her raw because we found her stranded in freezing cold weather, and she was very anxious, very scared, very aggressive. And someone had mentioned raw dog food. And like many of you, I had no idea what raw dog food was, and I was a little bit scared about raw dog food. And so I dove into it and I looked into it and told him like she actually came. I'm actually petting her right now, if you're wondering what.
I love it.
Yeah. So it has done wonders for her. And when we got our puppy, Hugo, we knew that absolutely raw was the way to go. So benefits, if you think about it, it's very simple. If you think about processed food for us and healthier food for us, that's exactly how you need to think about it for your own dogs. So processed food, there's a lot of extra waste in there that really just goes right through the dogs. There's very little nutrients. They're not getting what they need. With the raw dog food, it's pure nutrients. It's pure and it brings it back down to what they're used to in the wildlife. So this is what we're trying to create for our dogs. If they were really out in the wild on their own, this is what they would be getting. And so just again, think of it as yourself. When you eat a bunch of junk food, how does your body feel? It doesn't operate as well. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't, you're sluggish. There's a lot of other issues that go on in your digestive system and so on and so forth. And this goes the same for your dogs. And once you do the switch, you see the difference immediately. Number one in the stools, and stools, I know it's a little stinky, but it goes a long way. It tells a lot about your dog's health. And you will notice immediately your dog's stools will change, and much smaller because they're getting all the nutrients that they need from the raw, very little waste. So I would, yeah, primarily those are the benefits really. Just think about it as processed food and non-processed.
That's awesome. And I remember when we put our first dog on raw, and the only reason we put him on raw was because he was having some health concerns. So we put him on raw because we wanted him to be healthier. So we didn't know much about raw. We were afraid to put him on raw because we thought it was going to be hard to feed him. So like we just think raw dog food as opposed to a bag of dog food, right? Like it just seemed hard. So is it really that hard, Sandra, to feed your dog raw dog food? Like, how would you store the food or how would you give it to the dog? Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. And again, it's that misconception of ooh, raw, right? You get a little bit nervous around it. So sure, it might be easier to scoop a little scoop of kibble and throw it in your bowl and not have to think about it. It could be stored in your pantry for years
Yes.
and bad. So that's one warning sign right there. But so we actually make our food here on site. We use meats from our local butcher shops, our local farms. So we support that. We make it all here on site fresh. And then I just have a sample here of the container. So this is a 1 ounce, 1 pound container, 16 ounces, and it's very convenient. It seals shut. You can put it right in your fridge, just like you would store any other meat products. You keep it in the freezer when you're ready. You can leave it out to thaw out a bit, or leave it in your fridge to thaw out a bit, just like you would with regular meat, regular ground meat. And then you just put it in your bowl and you're good to go. So there's not very, there's not a lot to worry about when you're coming, like, about the actual raw in itself.
I know, and it really is easy. Like, it honestly, it's super easy to do once we transitioned. The dog that we had at the time, like, devoured it. Like, and before, he never used to eat his food because he would rather be out for a walk or be out doing something or outside. So often his food kibble would be in the bowl like all day. But when we gave him raw, there was never left in the bowl. It was completely gone. So it's raw meat, but there's also like when we buy the food, we buy our food obviously from Sandra and Ron at HuLu. There's peas in the food. So can you tell us a little bit about the peas that are the vegetables that are in there?
So when you think of a raw diet for animals or for dogs, so your raw diet consists of meat. So 70% meat. It consists of 20% organ and 10% bones. So that's our raw diet, and we calculate that when we make up our meals. But we also add some green peas in there for some added fiber. And we also add our supplements in there. So we have canine supplements that we put in, and omega oils. So the purpose of this was to have a complete meal for the dogs. When I had first started with raw, I was going somewhere else, and I had little chunks of here, chunks there, and I had to kind of combine it together. And maybe that's where a lot of people have that misconception, because they do have to take a little bit from here and a little bit from there to make a meal. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to make it easily accessible to people, where it really is just thaw and serve. You don't need to add anything else to it. It is a complete meal. If you wanted to, you could. You don't need to, because it's all packed with the nutrients and all the requirements that your dog needs. So yeah, it's all put into one, so you don't have to worry about going out and calculating yourself. And that was one of the biggest things for us. We wanted to make it easy for people and affordable, so that everyone can hopefully have the option of trying raw dog food for their dogs.
And that's kind of the key thing, like affordable. I'm telling you, we actually started saving on vet bills when we started using raw dog food. Like, because we were giving our dog some medication for his hips and his joints. And when we changed over to raw, we were like, oh my goodness, like things are different now, you know? Sandra said that you noticed the dog's stool. We actually noticed his energy was better. We noticed his fur, which he has short hair to begin with, but we noticed the fur change, like very soft fur. We noticed that his joints seemed to be a little bit better, and that was the reason why we put him on the raw. So we did see an improvement very quickly with him. One of the things too with the raw dog food is I didn't know, like, how much do I give my dog? So is there a calculation or a chart that you would use for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends on if you have a puppy or if you have an adult dog. So puppies obviously are going to require a little bit more, because they're growing and you want to make sure that they get all the nutrients they need as they're growing. So generally it's recommended that it's 5% of their body weight. And so again, depending on your puppy, if you know he's going to grow up to be a big one like we have in the house, you're going to notice that that's going to change probably weekly as they grow. So until they're puppies, you're looking at 5% of their body weight. And once they are fully grown and they've got all those nutrients that they need in order to, their bones and muscles and all that stuff, then we can go down to 2% of their body weight. And that's your average. And again, if you've got a dog that's super, super, super active and you want to make sure that he's getting the extra, then you can bump it up a little bit. Or if you've got that dog that just needs a little, losing of some weight or any of that stuff, then you can just lower it a bit. But 2% generally for adults, and 5% generally for puppies.
That's awesome. Okay, and then one more question, Sandra. Well, actually, I have two more questions for you. So, what about treats for your dog? Because you know those milk bones, we used to just shove those down our dog's mouth and they would just eat them. And it's just something funny actually happened this week. I was out walking. We have two dogs now. We have Ranger, who's 9 months old, and Xena, who's 2.5. And we were walking just the other day, and I saw a milk bone on the sidewalk, and both of them walked past it and didn't bother with it. Now, I'm telling you, if there was ever like an apple or any piece of fruit or vegetable on the sidewalk, though those two would fight over it. But this milk bone, they both walked past it, and I was like, hmm. So, what would you give your dog for a treat if you know you wanted to give it some treats? Because it's hard to give a dog like a spoonful of raw dog food, especially for training, right? Because we do have a puppy. So, what do you recommend for that?
Yeah, so you want to be careful with those treats, those milk bones and those raw hides. They can be very, very dangerous for your dog. So just make sure you do your research on that. But for us, we use apples, we use carrots, we use peppers. They just love it. We also make homemade treats here. We've got pumpkin treats. We've got peanut butter and apple treats. So those are all here too. In the summertime, we make frozen yogurt treats for the dogs. So that's great. For little training purposes or just, you know, fun little treat. So yeah, you just want to make sure that, again, just think of those processed foods and the havoc that it could have on your dog's tummies and digestive system. But yeah, definitely go into your fridge, look for your fruits and veggies, and absolutely they will devour them.
So I was eating an apple today, and I seriously eat an apple a day. You know, keeps the doctor away. And the two of them come running over, and when I'm done the apple, they will. And it's actually quite funny. They actually try to like use their front teeth, and they have a hard time using their front teeth to chew because they have canine teeth. Their teeth are all very like deciduous teeth, so that they're like because they're tearing teeth, right? So when you
Right.
actually give it an apple, like and they're trying to get the last bit of it, it's quite funny to watch a dog try to eat an apple from like the thing. So, anyways, I end up taking a pieces off of it and giving it to them. You just got to be mindful that they don't get the seeds or the stem, but like they love people food. Like tonight we were having Greek food and like cucumbers are sitting on the counter. So they get cucumbers as a snack. It's so good and healthy for them. And you know, it's just it's actually quite easy to feed your dog raw, healthy foods. So the last thing, Sandra, so what products do you have available and how can people get them? Like, do they order them online or do they come to your store or what could they buy from you?
Yeah, so we have a variety to get to us. We have a storefront here. We currently have 11 meals that we have created for our dogs, and a lot of them come from our dogs or our inspiration. But we do have a bunch of chicken meals, complete meals. We have turkey meals. We have duck meals. And for some dogs that have sensitivities, like one of ours, we also have one protein type meals, like all beef, all salmon, and we also have some tripe. So there's a variety of things that you can pick from, and we're constantly always looking for different meals that we can create. But you can find us online at HuLuRawDogFood.com, and you can order right online there. And once you're done your ordering process, you can pick up a time to pick up your order, and we'll have it ready for you. You can also walk in during our store hours. We'll be more than happy to service you guys. Please make sure you bring your doggies. We love to see them all. Yeah, or give us a call and you can order over the phone as well.
Okay. Where's your address? Are you guys located?
So we're at 1592 Highway 2 in Curtis.
Okay.
So you could, it is a residential home, but we also have a commercial space as well. So you can find us here.
Awesome. And do you guys deliver?
Currently, we don't. We did have that in the beginning. Unfortunately, at this time, we don't, but we are looking at back as one of our services.
Okay, that's awesome. And it's really quite easy. Like you said, you just go online, you order your dog food. I always like I think I mentioned or so you had mentioned to me, Sandra, about having a schedule where you kind of pick up every 2 weeks, which is what I should probably do. But I go in the freezer, I go, oh my gosh, I've got 3 containers left, and then I usually place an order. It's super convenient. They're right in Curtis on Highway 2. So I go in, and yes, you take your dogs in with you. You can meet their dogs, and it's just, they're so kind and generous and just such wonderful people, Sandra and Ron. We've had like the best service from you guys. So we are very grateful that we have found you. And honestly, before Sandra and Ron, we had tried out 2 other raw dog food places, and just we just weren't happy. The dogs weren't eating the food. Number one, on and off, it was inconsistent, and number two, the packaging was absolutely horrible. So when we found Sandra and Ron at HuLu, like, we have not had one issue. We are so happy, and I think their prices are even way better than these other companies. So we are so grateful that we have found you. Our dogs are even more grateful that they have found you as well. So thank you, Sandra, so much for taking the time to explain to us a little bit more about raw dog food. I will post some links below if you guys want to get a hold of Sandra and Ron. I'll get you their website. Or if you just want to go in and talk to them, feel free to do so. All right. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate I appreciate you guys for what you have done and what you have created, and just to be able to serve dogs and help dogs have their best life.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll see you soon. Take care.